Video. I'm going to talk about ways in which you can detect an upcoming humiliation ritual. I want you to think about the last time that you were subject to a humiliation ritual. Now, if you don't know what a humiliation ritual is, I recommend that you go back to the videos that I have on the topic. I'm going to go over what that is very briefly. A humiliation ritual basically is what it sounds like. It is a ritual, a routine, something that is done to you to humiliate you. And these humiliation rituals are often part of spiritually abusive environments. They're not restricted only to spiritually abusive environments, however, they are in other types of um, abusive or toxic environments. They often happen in certain types of workplaces, families, and things like that. So, on to the topic of the video. Before I start off, let me just introduce myself for those of you who are new here. My name is Dr. Felucia, and I'm a licensed psychologist. And on my channel and in my practice, I focus on spiritual abuse. And today's topic is going to dovetail right along with that. So, back to the topic at hand, how can we detect an upcoming humiliation ritual? On the videos that I have done on humiliation rituals, I see a lot of comments from people saying that if they had known that they were going to be subject to a humiliation ritual, that they would have found a way to prepare themselves or just not, attend it. And so here's some things to look out for. The first thing is has to do with you. So if you are, um, let's say you do something like challenge a leader, challenge a norm, put up a boundary, say no, do something like that, kind of like, you know, basically causing some tumult or disturbance, right? Doing things differently from the way you're expected to do them. That's going to put a target on you to be part of a humiliation ritual. And you may not even realize that you've done it. Something that's important to remember is that in these types of environments, whether it's a spiritually abusive environment or any type of environment at all, the person who is in charge tends to be very easily offended, right? They have a very fragile ego, and they're the kind of person that you might do something or say something, right? And they will hold it against you for an indefinite amount of time. And so that's why you have to be, um, I don't want to say like careful or fearful. It's rather just being aware of the type of people that are in these environments. And so, think about a situation where maybe you corrected somebody or you didn't agree with somebody or you were asked to do something and you said no. And then I want you to think about a humiliation ritual that you underwent. Did that happen shortly after? It probably did. It may not have happened shortly after, but you may have noticed a shift. People who are survivors of abuse are very good at being able to tell when there's any kind of shift in an environment. So I want you to tap into those skills that you have as a survivor. And anytime you feel like things are shifting a bit, pay attention, especially if it's because of something you've done. Now, this is not at all to make you feel like you should be afraid or, you should just sit there and like, take stuff that's coming toward you. Not at all. It's just a matter of being prepared. So let's say, for instance, that you have been doing something and you don't want to do it anymore. Maybe you were like chair of some ministry or you were doing something, you're like, okay, my season for this is officially at an end, and you give your notice, say, I'm not doing this anymore. Be prepared because a humiliation ritual is coming up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is somewhat related, but this has to do more with like you gaining something, right? Kind of like leaving the nest. So in a lot of these spiritually abusive environments, they're very insular and they feel threatened when individuals who have talent take that talent outside of the environment. Many of you have talked about how you have, maybe like gotten a scholarship to a university or admission to a university, something along those lines. You've gotten in, you're ready to go, and then you are lectured or told that, well, you really shouldn't be doing that thing out in the world out there. You should be using that for us. And when people do things like this, they're pretty much saying that they want your labor for free. So think about that. Let's say, for instance, you got a promotion or, you're moving or something good happened to you or one of your loved ones. Be careful. In these types of environments, they don't like people to shine too much unless that shine is reflecting directly on that environment. So that's another warning sign to be careful of. Another thing that you'll notice before a humiliation ritual is that people kind of get real quiet around you. When I say quiet, I don't mean speaking less. What I mean is that there's less communication, right? So, for instance, people who have talked about these humiliation rituals have talked about how they all of a sudden like weren't copied on certain emails that they used to be copied on. Things that they used to be, information they used to be privy to, no longer privy to that information. People start acting kind of strangely around them, may not talk to them as much. So there's the activity level dampens rather suddenly. Usually what that means is that word's getting around that you need to be dealt with. And so that's important because when people, it's very difficult for a lot of people to like maintain the same level of energy and interaction with somebody, knowing that they're about to do some harm to that person or that person is going to be subject to harm and they're not going to tell them. The attitude's always going to be off. And so things like people being really quiet, the atmosphere being quiet, or the opposite of that, being really flattered, undergoing love bombing, right? So things that just feel off to you, like, you just get maybe like a lot of praise, a lot of gifts, and you're wondering, like, where did this come from? These things are done to destabilize you because if you don't anticipate this humiliation ritual coming, then your guard is going to be down. And so I want you to remember those things and I want you to think about it from the perspective of the abusive environment, right? What are they doing? What is their goal? Their goal is to get you in a place where you will easily go to this humiliation ritual and you won't even realize that that's what's happening. Um, I think about stories that other people have told me about humiliation rituals that they've endured. And not only are they awful, it is a way of kind of like punishing you, the recipient, and also sending a message to everyone else in that environment that, hey, you better stay in your lane and do what you're told, or this can happen to you. And so it can be very destabilizing. And I want you all to like kind of keep in mind that these are some of the things that can happen. So basically, just looking for any kind of shift either from yourself, meaning things are getting better for you, you do something to kind of stir things up in the environment, or from the people in that environment. And that can be anything from, people getting very quiet toward you or going overboard, love bombing, flattery, all that other stuff. So I hope that information is helpful for you. I, would love to hear from you in the comments about if you identify with any of this, if you have experienced any of these humiliation rituals, and if so, what were some warning signs that you experienced beforehand? As they say, hindsight is 2020. So I'd love to hear from you all in the comments. My website is skillsetcounseling.com, and there you can find more information about my practice. So I hope you have a wonderful day that is filled with peace. Also, if you find this information helpful, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and share the video as well. All right, thanks very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day that is filled with peace. Bye bye.